Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today I'm going to be ranking all the legends in Apex Legends Season 10. Honestly, this last season has flown by for me, but I've really been enjoying the season, even with Seer, Disrupt Around, Spitfire, and all the other broken things in the season. We'll have a F tier for the potato heads, a D tier for poor, C for average, B for balanced and good, A for really good, and S for god tier. Let's get into it. Coming in as our only D tier legend is Rampart. Now, I hate to have to put Rampart at the bottom of D because her ult can be tons of fun and is one of the most unique legends with her amped walls and miniguns. The reason she is at the bottom of the list is because she's the most situational legend. One of the things that makes a solid legend is their flexibility and how they handle different situations. Rampart is the best legend in game when it comes to you holding the high ground at the end game, and you're fully set up with amp walls and miniguns. I really think that she needs a buff or rework, which she is expected to have this season, to maybe make her a B or A tier legend. I often find her walls making fights harder for me when I'm playing her in close range or building fights, because you have to be careful of what side of the wall you are on. This is why I hate to have to put her at the bottom of the list, but she's very situational, and honestly it's hard to put any other legends behind her because of this. Coming in at the bottom of C tier is Watson. Now, the reason I have to put her so low on the list is because she's a lot more of a defensive legend, and that you need people to play into your hands every fight to have your abilities work the best. And camping and playing defensive isn't really that strong or meta anymore in Apex. Maybe in the earlier seasons when players weren't as good, it might have been. Overall, if you do play her defensively, she can be pretty good, but to be honest, there's just better defensive legends like Caustic, and at least with Caustic, he does have slightly better aggressive abilities. But overall, I think she's just a bit too situational. I would like to see her have some buffs, because I think she is a very fun legend to play, but she could use that buff. Moving on to our next legend, we got Crypto. Now, I think Crypto can be a good legend at times, but I feel like his abilities just aren't strong enough in fights and could be easily outmatched by Seer and Bloodhound. You can do some pretty strong EMP pushes, but to be honest, I feel like other legends just can outmatch these pushes, just like a Rev Octane push. It's a lot more simpler, easier to pull off. But don't get me wrong, Crypto is a really cool and unique legend. I do think he could use a little buff, maybe to his drone. Moving on to B tier, we got our old matey Fuse. This season, Fuse got a major buff to literally all of his kit. His tactical now lasts twice as long. Enemies inside of his ultimate ability are now highlighted, and you can toggle on and off his passive, which I think is really good when using nades in and around doors and buildings. I think with these new buffs to his kit, he's a very viable legend, and I think his pick rate will be skyrocketing. I think his tactical is pretty OP now, because you can literally crack someone full armor with it. As we're not too far into the season, it will be interesting to see if any metas arise around Fuse. Next up is Mirage. He is a legend who's seen many buffs in his time in Apex Legends, and he's gotten to the point where he's pretty balanced in the meta. All of Mirage's abilities are all pretty strong and very fun to use. I think he's a great legend if you're just wanting to have some fun, have a little muck around, make some people feel like bots. Overall, he's a really strong legend, and I'd definitely like to see more of him in ranked. Next up, at the top of B is Loba. In my opinion, Loba is a very viable legend now with her ult and tactical ability, both being very useful for you and your team. Her tactical is amazing for repositioning and pushing through windows and other unusual spots. And her ultimate is my favorite ability of hers because you can easily stock up on ammo and heals. Loba is a very good legend, and I still think she's pretty underrated. Coming in at A tier is Wraith. Wraith's kit is very strong, but also very simple, and I think she's one of the best legends, especially for beginner players. But at the same time, there are so many pro portal players that people do. She isn't seen as much in ALGS and pro tournaments anymore, although this doesn't mean she's bad. She's still a very strong legend. She's just not quite as in the meta as she used to be, and she'll always be the icon of sweats in Apex. Up next, we got Horizon. This season, Horizon received a buff to her tactical ability, the gravity lift, and I think this is just what she needed because I feel like last season she was pretty underpowered, but then again in season 7 and 8 she was way too strong. She was easily on the top of the meta, but I feel like they've gotten her to the point where she's good but not broken. Up next is Bangalore. Bangalore was my and majority of Apex Legends players' first legend, and she's such a good beginner legend because her kit's pretty simple, but at the same time it's really strong. I feel like this season Bangalore has become really meta just because they have added yet another recon legend to Apex, and now there's so many legends like Bloodhound, Crypto, and Seer that complement her smokes and the rest of her kit so well, and you can get some really nasty combos going. Like, I was running some arena the other day, they had a Bloodhound Seer and a Bangalore, and we lost every round. It was disgusting. But overall, Bangalore is really solid, and she's definitely one of my favorite legends. Coming in at the middle of A is Revenant. Revenant is probably the best at third partying, as you can use his death totem and full send a fight. If 3 people enter the totem, it's the equivalent of being pushed by a 4-man squad. Revenant Silencer is amazing because it will disable all of the abilities of the person it hits, and it is hilarious watching a Wraith or Gibby expecting to be able to use their 10-second getaway, and then they're just sitting there awkwardly not knowing what to do. With Revenant receiving some small nerfs, I think the Revtain combo has been balanced out a little bit more, which is good to see because it was pretty broken last season. But overall, I think Revenant's in a pretty solid place right now at A tier. Coming in next is that creepy uncle Caustic. Caustic's had lots of tweaking around with his kit, and I feel like they've finally gotten to a point where he's pretty balanced. He's strong, but he's not insanely OP, and I think we are going to see him a lot more in ranked and competitive scene, because to be honest, last season we literally hardly saw any Caustics. For the most of the season, I wasn't main Caustic, even though he is my main. I've played him the most in Apex. But it is good to see my boy doing well, and he definitely deserves a spot in A tier. Up next is Pathfinder. Pathfinder is a really balanced legend in the average player's hand, but in a pro's hands, he is OP. There's just so much depth and techniques that you can do with his ability to make it so strong. And honestly, when I see a good Pathfinder, I just admire it, because it does take a fair bit of skill, and I think that's the thing I like most about him, is he is one of the legends that takes a bit more skill. Like with Octane, you don't really have to be that good to be good with him. He's just one of those legends that's just good in general. At the top of A is Valk. Valk has been an S tier legend throughout all of last season, but this season with the introduction of Seer, it is a pain in the ass to play her, because as soon as you start flying, you're just going to get seared down, because literally every squad right now has a Seer. It's kind of annoying, I'm not going to lie. But I know Seer's going to be getting a nerf soon, so it will be good to see her being a little bit stronger, probably a bit later in the season. Coming in as our first S tier legend is the Thick Lad Gibby. Gibby's kit is still amazing in a bad player's hands because it is pretty simple, but there are some things that pro players will learn to do, like dodge and weave really well, always be hitting those shots in and around the dome. And to be honest, he is one of the strongest legends and has been pretty much ever since he got his buff back in like season 1 or whatever. He's one of the most seen legends in ALGS and definitely deserves a spot in S tier. Coming in next is Lifeline. Lifeline has one of the most OP passives in the game. You can literally get a teammate back in the game for free. Her ultimate does need a slightly shorter cooldown. I think that would be a nice little buff for her. And her tactical is a lifesaver. If you're popping a bat, you just pop that heal drone down and you'll be good to go. Coming in next is the speed demon himself, Octane. Octane's whole kit is really strong from his passive to his ultimate, and I think it's actually pretty balanced. Some people would disagree with me on this one, but to be honest, I think with the ultimate going from 60 seconds to 90, it's really balanced him out a bit. Octane does have some pretty OP combos, like the Revtain combo that I did mention earlier, and I think overall Octane is a really solid legend. Coming in next is Bloodhound. Bloodhound's kit is all really strong and really fun to use. He's amazing for ranked, ALGS, pubs, and arena. Literally every game mode in Apex he is amazing at. But there's literally nothing I would change about his kit. I think he is absolutely perfect right now where he is in Apex, and he's definitely deserving of a spot in S, especially with this new recon meta that has arisen this season. Coming in as the best legend in Apex Legends Season 10 is Seer. To be honest, his whole kit is insanely OP. His passive is amazing because especially if you've just finished a fight, you can quickly use his passive to have a quick look around, make sure there's no one else nearby that's going to come third you and absolutely destroy you while you're trying to heal up. His tactical is definitely the most annoying ability, especially because of the stun effect it gives you. And whenever I played Valk this season, not that I've played her an absolute ton, but I've always been flying and I've been just shot out of the air. It is super annoying. And his tactical and passive tie in so well because you can use the passive to see if you're aiming on them with the tactical, and it's honestly just disgusting. I think it's way too overpowered. He definitely needs a nerf. And with his ultimate ability, I think they should reduce the time on it. I don't think it's insanely overpowered because you can just shoot it out. So that is pretty easy. Although if you play it well, you can put it in spots where it's a bit harder to shoot them out. But if they did just give it a slightly longer cooldown, I think it would be a lot better. But yeah, I'd like to see some nerfs to his kit because he is definitely very OP right now. Although you should definitely still be using him while he's insanely OP, guys. Get that KD up a little bit. I hope you guys have enjoyed this tier list. Comment your own top 3 legends in Apex Legends down below, and I will see you guys in the next one. And if you guys enjoyed that video, make sure to check out these ones.